Hey everybody, welcome to Top Cat's Lair. I'm going to give you a brief summary of what I thought about the Iron Man movie. I was really psyched to see it, and it is fun, but there are some problems with it. Oh, by the way, got this awesome metal popcorn tub. Yeah, Iron Patriot. And the new suit. So the basics of the story is there's this Mandarin figure, and who's scaring people. Terrorist, all the paranoia that you get pumped with in America, I'm guessing, because I don't know. We don't get all that much here, unless it's rebounded off you guys. I don't know. We just, I don't know. We're sitting pretty, but in the movie, it's like every kind of the Mandarin. If you know the character in like the Iron Man mythos, he's pretty big player, and in terms of Iron Man, and he's always kind of represented magic, and so it was all technology versus magic, and I was really psyched to see how they were going to do it, and then I went, he kind of, in the trailers, he looks like a generic terrorist figure, which works for what he is. Now, I can't talk about too much about the Mandarin without spoiling things, and the movie hasn't come out yet, so I won't discuss that yet. But he does kind of represent what is going on with popular culture in terms of a lot of war type stuff. War games and war movies and terrorist movies, and for me it gets pretty old after a while. It's like, which ethnic foreign country are we up against in this game, And that's why I don't play Call of Duty games anymore, and it's like, we're against the Russians again. Now the thing that seems to be big now is like North Korea. And what the Mandarin's used in, the way he's used in the Iron Man movie is to commentate on the fact that, games like Homeland and all these kind of, Red Dawn, how Red Dawn used to be the Russians are invading or something, and now the modern version of that is North Korea's invading. Yet, I don't think the people who made Red Dawn kind of saw the irony of the fact that it's all propaganda to make you fear other countries. But that's not what it's used for in Iron Man. It's not propaganda. It's something else, which is quite clever. But I kind of wish a movie that wasn't Iron Man did it. What they did with the Mandarin. What they did get right with the movie is the extremist stuff. If you follow the comics, or if you watch there's an animated version of it. If you're not into animated comics, don't worry. I like them if they're done well. And if you're not keen on trying to follow the extremist story, it's a good primer to watch that Iron Man extremist animated comic. It's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know, it feels like Disney kind of went into it and changed a lot of things. One of the biggest things, and the reason I'm wearing this shirt, is there was a mothers group that went, oh my goodness, Tony Stark, the Iron Man, the kids dress up as him, and he drinks alcohol a lot. Well, yeah, he's an alcoholic. His dad was an alcoholic. It's part of his character. And throughout the movie, and this is not going to spoil anything, he's dealing with the fact that he saw aliens and gods, and he's like, oh my gosh, my mind is expanded. But you'd think with, Tony Stark, he'd have panic attacks about it. And there's a cool little thing where it's like he's losing his shit. And it's like, did you actually get out of that portal? And he's freaking out and like, because at the end of the Avengers, he pushes the nuke through the portal. And this very together guy in the other movies, like in Part 2, I like Part 2. I don't know about you guys, but I like Part 2. It shows his vulnerable side, and he turns to alcohol. But this this mother's group basically said, complain, and Disney decided to take out the alcohol content, like all of it. I'm not kidding. He gets a panic attack, he doesn't turn to alcohol. It jars with, if you see the movies back to back, in Avengers, when he says to Loki, you want a drink? No, I'm gonna have a drink. It's how he copes. It's a crutch, it's a character flaw, and it's no longer there. He goes to a bar in Iron Man 3 and talks to a woman who looks like she's meant to be drunk and drinking. They're both drinking water in a bar. This is Tony Stark! So, it's a minor thing, but it really feels weird. And they have a kid in it, but that's fine, because kids are cool. When they're done right. But it kind of feels like the kid's pushed in there. The kid character. And, the alcohol is pushed out. And it's like, let's add a dog. It's one of those kind of let's add a dog moments where it's like, oh, okay, that's why they did it, to make it more kid-friendly. But seriously, Iron Man 3 is probably the darkest one of the lot. He gets stripped bare, and here's another thing that I didn't like about it. It tries too much to be Batman Begins or The Dark Knight Rises, that kind of story feel where it's like when you play God of War sequels, or sequels to a rung of video games, and you get all they have to come up with a reason why you're stripped from all your weapons so you can earn them back again in the game. Yeah, that's what it feels like in this thing. In Iron Man 3. But yeah, it feels a bit Batman Begins, a bit, he's got to rebuild himself. And the ending's a bit, what? Would he do that? Is he affected that much by the stuff that happened in Avengers? Didn't look like it in the Avengers movie. Yeah. So, I won't get into how it's like Batman Begins, or how it's like Dark Knight Rises, but it's definitely darker, and it's not an action-adventure movie anymore, which all three of the other movies have been. This movie is more espionage, spy, a guy stripped to the bare elements, and he's got to work with what he's got. And that, in that sense, it works, but the stuff that is obviously ripped out of Batman Begins and Dark Knight Rises doesn't, because it really feels like I've seen this movie before. There were a lot of moments where I looked at the movie and went, I've seen this movie before. It is refreshing that Iron Man's not fighting someone who is in a metal suit. That was the one problem I had with Part 2. Was that, he's fighting another person in a metal suit. I'm like, can it not? Can it just try something different like the Mandarin? And then fans of the Mandarin, of the comics Mandarin, are not going to be happy with this movie. I'm just saying that. Straight off. But I can't talk about it too much. Guy Pearce is great. Ben Kingsley is great. So I won't tell you too much about how they're great, but they're really good. But there is some cliche kind of twists that you're like, wow, that was old before they were like. That was old the first 3 times they did it in movies. Like, it's a cliche movie thing. But yeah, yeah. And you have a flashback sequence, which is really cool, and they brought back some actors for that. So that's kind of groovy. But yeah, it does feel very much like if you've seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It does feel... that's another movie by Shane Black, who directed this, and it's awesome. You should go see that if you haven't. And it's Robert Downey Jr. as well, which is how I reckon they got Shane Black on board. It has that kind of opening narration thing and ending narration thing that Shane Black did in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and I don't know, felt a bit Spider-Man for me. I'm gonna narrate my thing. And it's paid off after the credits, but it's like, oh, that's why they had narration? Huh. Okay. No. You could have had not that end, like those things they have after the trailers, they're usually awesome. Yeah, not this one. It tried to be funny and it wasn't. And it's the reason there's narration. And I was like, yeah, no. Nah. You could have done something with that and you chose to just have an end thing. So, ultimately it was disappointing, but it was fun. So, you know, what can I say? I'm gonna leave it there. But check it out. I'll talk about it a bit more in depth. But those were the things that intrigued me, that I wish wasn't in an Iron Man film, because Iron Man, after Avengers, I was disappointed that they didn't go the fantastical route with Iron Man 3, because they could have with the Mandarin, and they didn't. But they did do something interesting that could have been done in another film, and I think it's brave for it to go to say what it says about the state of how things are in America, in terms of not Americans so much as like just popular culture's depiction of the bad guy. So, yeah. But also, the thing, just lastly, I'm going to point out, the thing that really bugs me in terms of the Mandarin, what they could have done with him, was that things were set up in the first 2 movies. Especially the first movie about the 10 Rings. Right? You keep hearing about this terrorist organization called the 10 Rings. And they don't tie it in, because that's what Mandarin is. He's got 10 rings on, like, all of his fingers, and they all have different powers and magic. Well, they have the same terrorist flag as the 10 Rings, but they didn't make it clear, and some of the writing's a bit, which is a shame. It's Shane Black, you know, but you can feel Disney's hand in everything, which I think wrecked it a bit. And it doesn't make sense that he doesn't drink. So yeah, overall it's fun, but 3D is good. See it in 3D. Yeah, bit disappointing. I'll catch you later on Top Cats Leia. Or Leia. Whatever. And they'll never see me coming.